The nine biggest social justice issues of 2022 is gaining more and more traction. The past few years have been turbulent with new socio-cultural discourses emerging every month, if not every week. But while some issues stay under the radar, others are more prominent and widely discussed. Pause for a moment and compare the social injustices of 2022. Let's look at the social justice issues of today and compare them with the socio-cultural discourse that was emerging 2,000 years ago in the city of Bethlehem. Moreover, there are some social justice topics that are universal in their nature and have ongoing heated debates in communities all over the world. And these are the biggest issues of 2022 that demand attention from anyone and everyone who isn't different. These are both universal, and some issues seem nearly perpetual. The number one issue, COVID-19 vaccination this year, as well as the year before, has made a difficult time for many people. The COVID-19 pandemic at the end of 2019, nobody could have predicted just how disastrous its consequences would be. Moreover, nobody probably thought that the question of COVID-19 vaccine would be posed in the first place. 2,000 years ago, Christ entered into a world that was experiencing many epidemics, such as the epidemic of leprosy, disease that plagued many people, a disease that has been eradicated and is no more. These epidemics and pandemics bring about a discussion of unity, to a people who are divided by choices. While it's truly any person's own choice to get vaccinated, doing so has still been essential to end the pandemic. Gun violence and police brutality, number two, is another social justice issue at the center of discussion nowadays. Gun violence. 2,000 years ago, Jesus entered into a Bethlehem in a tiny manger in a nation that was ruled by the Roman Empire. Violence, brutality. Can't you see the gladiators training to become a human sacrifice, fighting lions, bears, vicious animals, side of coliseums to please Caesar. Gun violence, police brutality. Even 2,000 years ago, Jesus witnessed that. Number three is climate change. One social justice topic that has been in the spotlight for decades now is climate change. Fresh faces like Greta Thunberg representing the cause are more and more measures being implemented by the governments of countries all over the world. Unless those in power take action, we can expect major changes that will truly make an impact. The date of Christ's birth is highly debated, mainly because of the climate. Jesus Christ entered the world over 2,000 years ago to prevent humanity from enduring a climate change in which no civilization can recover. See, Satan had implemented a strategy that would utilize a climate change from Earth's gravity, fresh air, fresh water that sustains life. He wanted the climate change of hell, separated from your loved ones, separated from civilization, separated from the Almighty God. A climate that is hot, scorching heat, forevermore. Christ was born in Bethlehem 2,000 years ago to save us all from hell's climate change. Number four, the refugee crisis. The time that we live in right now is considered to be one of the most, if not the most, peaceful periods in human history. And yet crisis areas are sprinkled all over the world with ongoing wars and armed conflicts that results in millions of people being displaced. In fact, right now, over 82 million refugees and displaced people around the world tonight. Christ can empathize with the European refugee crisis. He can empathize with the many countries that have already accepted millions of employees. The question remains what the next step might be. He can empathize, teach us, help us answer the question, should these people assimilate? Should they go back to their home country as point? And where can resources be found to support all of this? For Jesus was a refugee. He would have to escape the horror of King Herod's annihilation of every male firstborn son. The season of Epiphany, we'll witness Jesus' life as a refugee in Egypt. Number five, hunger and overpopulation. See, with the refugee crisis, there are other topics such as hunger and overpopulation. tonight, as many as 811 million people around the world suffer from hunger despite the fact that there is more than enough food currently being produced to feed everyone. Mhm. Moreover, the numbers are growing with millions of people becoming undernourished every year. But there's more to the discussion than just access to food. Overpopulation leads to more consumption, not just of food, but also of housing, energy, healthcare, and so on. Consumption in large quantities eventually results in ecological degradation, which is why overpopulation might be directing influence in climate change. Huh. Passages like Luke, the first chapter, passages like Matthew, chapter 1, brings light to an overpopulation issue, hunger, and overpopulation that took place in Bethlehem, the city of David, 2,000 years ago. Overpopulated, no vacancy in the inn. Overpopulated, no couch to surf on. Overpopulated, a manger inside of a stable. Overpopulated, straw. Overpopulated, a census had to be taken. Overpopulated, a crying baby being birthed with the animals. Yes, the King of Kings knows about overpopulation. Number 6, inequality and poverty. 500 million people globally are living in extreme poverty, and more than that will live in it by 2030. And this is the projected forecast given by the United Nations itself. The income gap is far by one of the most widely discussed aspects of it. Griffith, an expert from the Custom Writing Reviews in his Trust My Paper, says while writing a comparative essay, there are so many different factors that influence poverty rates. In the past few years, it was the pandemic that forced millions of people to become poor. Who knows what we'll face in the nearest future? Inequality, no access to the internet. Inequality, not qualified for the job. Inequality, utter poverty. Jesus, the Son of God, gives us a message tonight. I have come that you might have life and have it more abundantly. He says, my Father is rich in houses and land. If it were not so, I would not have told you so. He plans to destroy utter poverty. racism and religious injustice ranks as the seventh topic of today's social injustice. In a globalized world of today, it would seem that tolerating different nationalities, ethnicities, and races would be simple for the average global citizen, and yet racism and religious injustice are still rampant. Cases of gun violence and police brutality in the U.S. are often linked to racism. Likewise, with the refugee crisis in Europe, there is a debate about whether migrants are driving crime rates up or there is actually no concern or reason for this racism. Nevertheless, hate crimes are still common all over the world. Take a look at Bethlehem for that. Take a look at folks from far into the world, different nationalities, ethnicities, and races would draw around the manger to witness the life of God's Son. Women's rights and gender equality rank as number 8. Like other social justice topics, feminism and gender equality have been discussed for decades now. And while women did get more rights in the past century or so, there's still gender inequality even in many Western countries. Recent headlines show a Middle Eastern country that has restricted access to universities for its female citizens. Gender equality was important in the story of the Nativity for this 13-year-old girl is highly favored by the Lord. Number 9, the rights of the LGBT. Last but not least, rights are also talked about, especially in the Western world. There's the issue of representation in works of art and culture, as well as more official matters such as same-sex marriage. Moreover, discussions of LGBT rights are also often connected to other issues such as healthcare, accessibility. Mental health is especially important as it is directly tied to the gender, identity, and orientation. LGBT adoption rights are often front and center to it. This topic divides families. This topic shows us videos of young men in Caribbean countries being dragged by ropes on the backs of motorcycles on dusty streets. This topic about rights, healthcare accessibility, adoption rights. However, controversial, the topic that has divided the world's mainstream denominations, is important. It has the attention and it is directly addressed in the word of the Almighty God. Jesus said, I come that you may have life and have it more abundantly. You. If it were not so, I wouldn't have told you so. You. In Revelation, he writes out a list on how to identify an individual who cannot receive salvation, who is destined to a fiery hell. And in that list, you are not there. Look at this Jesus tonight. Luke says that, and she conceived her firstborn son. She placed him in a manger, wrapped him in swaddling clothing. Can't you see the stable tonight? No room in the inn. $600,000 individuals sleeping in tents. And that's the pretty part. No room in the inn. Bethlehem invites us all. Bethlehem invites us all. Children, women, and men who are enslaved, abused, and exploited. Bethlehem invites us all. people living in poverty who are uniquely vulnerable because local justice systems are not equipped to protect them. The manger invites us all. Those who are at risk of brutal violence like trafficking and slavery, violence against women and children, police abuse of power. Bethlehem invites us all to be safe and free. Let us pray. Almighty and everlasting God, Father of Jesus, Jeshua, Emmanuel, your Son, my Savior. Thank you because you have designed and you desire for all to be safe and free. It is at the manger that we find your Son. Born in a cruel world, Lord. He would escape the terror of Herod. Over 30 years later, he would escape the cruelty of the cross. Thank you, Lord, because he conquered death. Our sting has been taken away tonight. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.